Good evening everyone, welcome back to Piccadilly. Top of the layout is still looking rather bleak at the moment. I haven't had time to put the canopies or any of the scenery back on, but it will go back on, worry not, it will go back on. But what I have done is this. One part of the fiddle yard is now complete. Obviously that's this section here. That section there is going to have tracks which will then go around the corner. Probably fit about 4 tracks in there, maybe. Probably 5 at a push, maybe. We'll see how it goes. May also looking, possibly they might get one around this side of the track. Have another point coming off to the left. I'll have a look at that. But yeah, so that's all. That's just been fitted and wired up now. I've improvised with the buffers, pieces of foam. And I did that on the old fiddle yard, if you remember when you saw it above. I had one piece just going across, and it's purely because if there are any runaway trains, which I did have a couple, or if I have a friend come and they're not very good at stopping the trains, they're not going to get damaged if they hit the buffers. It's just foam, so nice and easy. It'll just bash into that and it won't cause any problems whatsoever. Anyway, that's taken quite a while. That's taken all weekend to get all that track done. I know it's not ever so straight because I was trying to follow this kink down the side here, but I really don't care. It's a fiddle yard, so what's the problem? So I'm going to start loading the trains in now and see how many I get in. Obviously some of these lines, the trains will come in this way, follow this round, so it needs to be the shorter DMUs or EMUs that go in, particularly this line here. Oops, that line there maybe shorter, maybe get a 350 in there, maybe one of the Voyagers. We'll see how it goes. There we are. So you can see the 2 Pendolinos will fit on those 2 lines, but unfortunately the HSTs were just a tad long for these 2 lines. What I'm contemplating is maybe just bring these 2 lines over here, which would give me another 3 to 4 inches. I'll think about that, and but I don't want to do it if it's not going to fit an HST, but we'll see. What they do fit in is these 2 lines very easily, and you can see, I mean, I can push that right up to there. Zoom you in. So that's now touching the buffers at that end just there, but look at the amount of space. So there's plenty of space in there to fit the other Virgin HST, which I've now made 7 coaches. So I will get round to sorting that out at some other point. Now, this video is more about bits and bobs really. It's not really set for one particular project. So what I'm going to do now is get the top section for the lift sorted out. If you remember, I said at the far end of the lift some of the tracks are not quite lining up, so I'll get that sorted out and I'll show you that when I've done it. So there we are, back at the top again. Just letting you watch this HST as it approaches the lift section. That's all wired up now and fully operational. So you get that nice clickety-click. And if you remember, I said to you at that far end, just over there, it was sort of dead and the tracks didn't quite line up. So I've addressed all that. Not a difficult job. Let you just watch that come round. As it goes over the crossover. Now, I clearly can't run trains anywhere near as fast as I did down the bottom, because those curves are quite sharp, as you can appreciate. I mean, these are 3rd and 4th radius, but even so, what the trains have to cope with is quite a thing. So anyway, now that's done, I'm now going to turn my attention to this section here. And if you remember in a previous video, I said I'm going to take out that track temporarily to bank it, because obviously I can't leave the tracks on the bare polystyrene like I did before. So I will get that sorted. Anyway, there we are. That hill down the side there is now in. As I said I was going to do that. It's not massively steep. Still the option of making it steeper if I want to. But I wanted to leave some space down the bottom here for vehicles should I want to go down that road. But obviously the biggest change you'll notice there is I've painted the baseboard. I was just getting a bit fed up of seeing the bare wood. And incidentally, I've stopped the lift just short of the top because I've also painted the underside of that. Excuse me. See? The edge has been painted. So I just think it would just make things look a little bit more natural, even though it's only temporary. Must stress, it is temporary again until this area is ballasted properly, and there's no point whatsoever in doing any of that until the main extension goes in. But I might just put a grassy bank along there, and you never know, I might ballast up there, up towards the bridge, which I'll take you up to show you, which I've only put 1/2 in at the moment, just there. I might put another bank in the other side, but I want to get all the SCENICs back in at the top, all this bit, the new mill section back in, and see what it looks like. The original idea, as you know, the layout is zoned, was to have relief buildings down here, down this section here, and going across. So it was always going to be an industrial zone, but you know, I'll have a think about it. I really will have a think about it. So it's not going to be SCENIC properly for a while, but I might just do the odd little bit here and there. All right, also got rid of these words temporary. Obviously that one still remains, but I wonder who's going to be the first person seriously to notice these curves and comment on them. So we'll see. All right, anyway, I'm going to get that track, the incline track, back in up there, and we'll take it from there, because it would be nice to get trains running again up there. And then hopefully I'll finish this bits and bobs video with a bit of a running sesh. All right. Well, that reminds me, I still a bit of a mess over here. I still need to reconnect some of these tracks up here. So I'll need to go through them, running locomotive up and down everything, just to make sure there's power everywhere, because I still haven't reconnected literally everything from that massive short I had about 2 to 3 weeks ago. But anyway, I'll catch you in a bit. Bye for a minute. Right, a couple of bits to show you now. This track has now been wired up. Weird situation this was. Obviously it was done when I had the short a few weeks ago, but this section is not connected to this section, weirdly. And this was a totally separate circuit. It wasn't even connected to the bus. So obviously I've rectified that, and I've had wires now going to the DCC bus underneath. So that's all live. As far as I can tell, everything seems to be working elsewhere. Okay, just take you across to this section here now. And as you can see, I've gone a bit further and completed, or added to, I should say, that bank. I wouldn't say it's complete. There's things I need to do to it. I might even put the odd tree here and there. I want to darken this sand down a bit more to make it look like a gravel road. Loads of potholes and things like that. So it's a real mishmash, so that road vehicles can come along here. And I might put the odd little huts, things like that. And then maybe a porta cabin here. I'll look at some pictures of this type of area and see what's there, and I'll add whatever's appropriate. Okay, so maybe some tracks, sleepers, some odd wheels, all sorts really. But I want it to look good. But understand, please, I'm not going to do an awful lot more to this. What I did do from the last video, you did see all this when it was just painted. The bank was very steep. I did use the wrong word in the video, you probably realise that. But it was very steep, so I've made it a lot more shallow all the way along, particularly at the end there. It's an awful lot better now. And I've got to, there's some very browny, rocky looking areas, so I've got to paint those grey with a bit of white in, a bit of black in, that sort of thing. But I think that does look an awful lot better. Obviously this, I am going to ballast the track, and before anybody notices, yes, I do know there are some sleepers missing. Yes, I will put sleepers in. I have a whole pot full of sleepers just in there, which every time I cut a piece of track, I always keep them. Yes, I know, you needn't tell me that. Thank you very much. Now, moving on again to the next thing, because this is a bits and bobs video. There's been a number of people showing a lot of care and concern, so I do want to thank you, about trains running off the lift, both downstairs and upstairs if you like. Because obviously I don't want a train just to do a kamikaze dive. So what I've done is I've bought some micro switches. So this section here will be switched, as will that section up there, like that. And then the whole, at the moment, of the lower section will be switched. All right, so all of it. Now, the way I do things, if you remember, the whole section is isolated with a connector block just there. That's the main DCC bus coming down from the lower level, or straight from the controller actually. So that's that connector block, and I shall put the micro switch into this part of the wire just there, before that block obviously, because I need to disconnect it sensibly and have the wires fairly neat and tidy. So the switch will be, well, probably be down there somewhere, but in this area, if that makes some sense. So when the lift comes down, it will touch the micro switch, close the circuit, and then cut or bring the power back on. When it goes away, when the lift lifts up, it will cut the electrics. And like I said, the same too with the two areas at the top. All right, so I'm going to take you downstairs now, because I'm going to show you another test rig. Yes, I like to do those purely because I don't want to make myself look silly on camera. I do like to check what I'm telling you is going to work and prove it that it works. All right, so I'll see you downstairs at the test layout. All right, there we are. So there's the micro switch. Sorry if this is a little bit wobbly. I'm holding the camera with my hands, but you can see there you've got a little switch just there, and as the lever goes down, it makes the connection, and as it comes up, it loses the connection. So you've got a little roller on the top there. I thought that would probably be better to save any friction on the end of the wire, but you can get them with just a piece of wire, long and short. So I think you can get them longer than this, and I think it's probably the same length as that, but just the wire, no roller. Okay, now it is hard for you to see this, but you've got COM there, common. You've got normally open and normally closed, NO and NC. Now, I'm understanding, and somebody might correct me if I'm wrong, but my experiments with electric seem to prove this. NO, normally open, means that the circuit is open. So the circuit is broken. And then this one would be the circuit is closed. Now, you can wire two things to this. So you have one wire coming in to this terminal, and then you can have two wires or going off to an LED and then connect up with your live, which would just come down the side. So you can have two things, but I'm going to use this as an on-off. All right, so there's my diagram. So there's my bus wires, as I have done in the past. Now the positive bus goes straight to the track, and it's the negative that's been broken. So that's going to the common, and then I'm using it from the center one here. I did try and connect it to that one and it didn't do anything. So, or actually it connected when the bar was up. So for me, that's not going to work, because obviously when the lift comes down, I want it to go into that position and then cut the power or not cut the power. Well, actually, when it's up like that, I want it to cut the power. When it's down like that, I want the power to be there. So what I've had to do is connect these two, so to the normally open. So I might be wrong in the sense of understanding how that works, but I'm understanding that that connection is normally open, so the circuit is broken until I bring it down. All right, that's how I'm understanding it. Now I've got another switch here wired up, and I'm using my Bachmann DC controller. So I'm going to put that on, and you can see I've got a 37 on the track, and it's on, well, say half power. You can see there's a little white mark, and nothing's happening until I do this. All right, and I let go. So let's just show that again. So every time I push the button, it goes, and every time I let go, it stops. All right, so I've got it working how I want them to work. Right, and stop it just there. So that's working now. Whether I've understood the idea of the diagram correctly is another matter, but it does what I want it to do, so I'm not going to complain. Now, I need, like I said, when the lift goes into either position, it must make contact like that. So it's got to push down. So what I'm thinking is that the lift, that one is obviously mounted at the top like that, and there is a block of wood on the side of the lift that will come up and just make that contact just like that. And then at the bottom, obviously as the lift comes down, there'll be a block of wood which I then screw this to, and then the lift comes in and makes the contact like that and then brings the power back. How these will be exactly fitted to the layout, other than the fact there's going to be, oh, if I can stand that up, it won't do it now, will it? Actually, I'll lean it against that. Right, apart from the fact there's going to be a block of wood here, and I screw it through those two holes, I'm not totally sure how or where I'm going to connect it up yet, but I'll get it running. So there's going to be two at the top, one at either end, because I want the layout to remain live, obviously. But when the train's in the, when the lift is in the upper position, the whole of the bottom section will be cut. Now, I'm yet to decide whether I'll just cut the lines going into the lift section. So I could do that at either end, but I've only got 3 switches. I might send off for a 4th. I'll have a think about it. If it's irritating when I cut the whole layout or the whole fiddle yard down below, then I'll just order another switch and I'll fit it to the 2 feeder wires into the lift. Or it might mean I have to cut the whole thing, which might be just safer, but I'll think about that. Right, so there we are. Now, I haven't fitted those switches just yet. I will do that in the coming week or so. But what you can see now is I've fitted the Backscene in there. Okay, yes, I know there's a splotch of paint there. I'll sort that. but I had to buy a replacement Backscene for the one that was here, if you remember, and it was all creased and wrinkled. And if you remember, I had to stick some trees on it because I made a splodge. But look at that bit at the end there. Look familiar? Actually, at the back there, it doesn't look so bad. Now, what you may have noticed is the Backscene originally came around this section here, but I've since decided to take it round the back so that I can create a bridge, or a proper bridge, just there as a little bit of a focal point. Still trying to think about what to do with this area here. My original plan, like I said before, was to put relief buildings there, and I probably still will, because I want this to be well, I suppose it's more of a TMD type section really, isn't it? Where you've got the carriage shed on this side and maybe a store locos this side. I have decided to take these two tracks out because it will give me more space against this part here. And if I am going to put some relief buildings in there, I'm going to need the space. So these two tracks will come out, which will then relieve those 2 points. Those 2 points there, which I can then put back into the fiddle yard and then create another siding down there, which is probably going to be more valuable at the moment. Now, the other part as well is I've decided on the carriage shed that I'm going to use, and that's going to be a scale scenes one. I'll just get you a picture of that now. And there it is. Now, I wanted something that wasn't brand new, but at the same time I'd got these yellow shutter doors. So if I click on some of the other images, you'll get an idea of what that's going to look like. So there's one of the side images. So I've got these doors, you see, which I want to be automatic. When the lift goes down, I want the doors to shut, and I shall come up with some kind of mechanism to make that work. Now, obviously, it's going to take a while to make all this. I'll show you a bit of it. I'm not going to show you the whole process, in the sense of I'll show you the significant parts of it, because it's a kit and I'm obviously having to kit bash it, and I'll probably build it as one long unit as opposed to loads of little ones put together. I think I'll have a think about that. I might do it in little modules. I don't know yet. I'll have a think. But I think this is probably going to be a good solution for me. See, and I mean, I won't be putting in the inspection pits because I think you can appreciate that's a piece of 18mm timber, and I really don't want to be cutting into that with a jigsaw. It's going to totally destabilize the lift, and that wouldn't be appropriate at all. So I will just put a hard standing inside, but not any more than that. But yeah, so going back to the original picture here, this scene will be at the front, as you can see there, with the windows will be along this side. And I've got to decide yet, but I'll probably have so many windows, then a clean wall, and then so many more, repeating the same number of windows, with a blank wall every now and again, like that. So you get these blank walls. So the blank walls will generally be on the opposite side here, but I think that could look quite good. And then if I put maybe a porter cabin either here or over there or something, I don't know at the moment, but we'll just have to have a think about that. You know, open to the suggestions. If you feel that I need to put something in, then do say. I did say on the previous, earlier on in the video, that this is a road, and that's coming in from that area down there, which I've still got to think about the bridge. I'll probably just use the Pico girders for that, to be honest, keeping it relatively simple. If they're long enough, of course, which actually looking at that, they probably aren't. But again, a girder's not difficult to make, really easy to make those. But the other thing as well about this engine shed is that I don't think it's as wide as this. So what I'll do is make it and then put some paving either side, which will just clip the edge. So when the lift comes up, it'll come up to it and then go down from it, if that makes sense. So when you look at it from here, you won't see this edge here. So that will be hopefully a clever little way of disguising it. That I won't be able to disguise this edge here, unless of course I bring the shed out a tad further this way, which I could do just a centimetre or so, which would hide that bit of a mess there, wouldn't it? Yeah, so I can do that. And again at that side, I've put for those people who are quite sleeper conscious, I've put some sleepers into these odd gaps here now. Still need to do a few at that end, but again, that's really not that important. And obviously, again, at this part here, I need to put the odd one or two in there, but you know. So, as I said, I'll get that. The next video will be hard standing on this part, and then we'll be starting to think about putting that shed together. I am planning to go back to Piccadilly shortly. My plan was originally to go back to it next week, but to be honest with you, I feel that as I've got the motivation on this side now with the shed, I want to just get on with it, and I can get a certain amount done, probably out as far as this section. Obviously, I can't do an awful lot more on this side of things until the extension out to the window's done, except remove these two tracks, of course, and then put those down the bottom. Still need to fit those switches that I talked about a few minutes ago, but you know, we're getting there. So I'm really pleased with the way that back scene is looking. And that's really giving the impression, if I bring the camera down now and give the impression that we've got a bit of a distance there now. So there's a few miles there, just in the same way as when you looked down that bit there, like that, really gives the impression that there's quite a few miles there. So really pleased with both of those sides now that's coming on. I was always a bit disappointed with this side, so I'm really pleased that this is starting to make some progress now. Anyway, that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I'll say bye and catch you soon. Take care of yourselves. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and if you have, please do like, subscribe and share, not forgetting to click on that little bell to get regular notifications of any videos I upload. Some other videos are appearing on the screen right now which also might take your interest. Thanks once again, and bye for now.